Hello, my name is Martin Tully. I'm a sales engineer here at Portnox, and today what I want to do is show you how easy it is to distribute out Portnox Clear certificates using JAMF Pro. So there's a couple of things that we need to do inside the Portnox tenant before we jump over to JAMF. And one of the things we have to do is download the Radius Service certificate. So under settings, there is the clear radius service. Go ahead and expand that out. And you see here, there is a option to download the root certificate. So just go ahead and click on root certificate. You'll see here that it does come down as a CER extension. So you can go ahead and download that. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I already have that. And let me go ahead and clear all that download history. And then under Clear General Settings, we want to scroll down and download the Trusted Root Certificate for your organization. So come down here, hit download, and you can see here that is the Trusted Root Certificate for your organization. The other thing to notice here is it's coming down as a PFX. So if you're using Windows, you can open up Cert Manager, import this in, and export it out as a CER. For any other operating system, there's plenty of good articles that you can just sort of Google in terms of how to make that conversion. And then last but not least, inside the Portnox tenant, you need to make sure you do have SCEP services enabled. If you have not enabled this, you can just click Edit, hit Enable Integration. You will need to create a password, and once that's done, you will have this SCEP URL that we can use inside JAMF. So let's jump over to JAMF. So inside JAMF Pro, I have my configuration profiles, and you can see here I already have one called Portnox JAMF. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And what you see is I have general, I have a certificate, I have a network, and I have a SCEP payload. So let's take a look in how we configure those. So I'm going to click Edit. And when you say create a new configuration profile, these are all the settings that you're going to have. So the first one is going to be general. You can call the display name whatever you want. You can see here I've called this Portnox JAMF. The big thing here to think about is the level. Do you want to do user level authentication or computer level authentication? Big thing there is just how those accounts are going to come in to the Portnox tenant once they get authenticated. Obviously, it'll be easier to recognize user emails or user names than it is for computer names. But again, that's totally up to your organization. In distribution method, I have this make available in self-service. You'll probably have it set as install automatically. I do this to make it easier to do any type of testing in case I need to come back here and make some changes. I can remove it really quickly and just bring it back in. So that is the general piece. And then scroll down a little bit, you'll see certificate. So under certificate, what you want to do here is you want to give it a certificate name. So this is, I called this Portnox Radius. So that was that first certificate that we downloaded. So I just click on upload certificate here, click choose file. And again, you can see here that I would have, let me come down here, that root certificate that I downloaded, that the CER, you can select that, hit open, and you will see that the file name, and of course the issuer name, the expiration date. You do want to make sure you select allow app access from within here. After that certificate piece is done, we just need to scroll down and create a SCEP payload. So on the SCEP payload, the first thing that we need to do is set the URL. The URL is from right here, that SCEP URL that we saw earlier. Just click on this little copy button here and paste that in here. The instance name, you can call this whatever you want. You can see here I called this CA-clear. Subject, right? So previously in the general, we said we were going to do user authentication. And so it just makes it easier for us to see it by email is what I'm using here. The next piece is the challenge type. In this particular case, we selected static. And so for that, you would just have to come in here and select that password that you created. You'll select that from within here. Key size will be 2048. You can see here also I have checked off as use a digital signature and key encipherment. Again, the allow all app access. And then I have to upload a certificate. This is that certificate that came down as a PFX that we converted So that is what you are going to select here. And you would download, you would upload that certificate that you converted, whichever method that you used. Once you're done with all that, we're all set for our SCEP, and then we just need to do one more piece here is our network payload. So in this particular case, in our network payload, we are using Wi-Fi. This is the SSID that I created inside my access point, and I put into the group section inside Portnox. I have it set to auto join. Security type, I have set to WPA2 Enterprise. Accepted EAP types, I have TLS. Uh, TLS minimum version max I have set to 1.2. Identity certificate is SCEP CA-clear. If you remember here, that is exactly what we called that SCEP payload, right? So I have all that set. In this particular case, you can see here I'm in protocols. There is one other option here, which is the trust. So if I select trust and I come in here, I want to make sure I select the Portnox radius, which was that certificate that we created over here. So that will show up here. You just need to put a check mark in. And once that's all done, you just have to hit save, and you're done with that configuration profile. Obviously, you will set up your scope and where you want to distribute out to these devices. Obviously the big thing here is that there is a user associated to that device. So in this particular case, the user that I have is associated to this MacBook Air. Um, and so if I take a search here for that user, this is that user that I'm using. You can see here that it is associated to that one MacBook Air. And you can see here the username, the full name, and the email address. You might have you might have JAMF already set up to pull usernames from an authentication repository like Azure Active Directory. So you'll be able to use that from within here. And once that's done, right, we'll be able to go in and be able to test that out. So let me bring up my MacBook Air. So here's my MacBook Air. You can see here that I already have my JAMF profile installed, right? So I installed that through the self-service. It's already there. You can see here right now, I'm just connected to a regular access point or SSID. It's not in 802.1x. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to the Portnox 802, which is the one that I'd set up in the JAMF. And you can see here that it is going to authenticate through. And once that's done, and I go back to Portnox and I go back to alerts, you should see here that that authentication successfully completed. And there it is. So 1 second ago, 802.1x authentication success. The device was successfully authenticated with 802.1x using EAP-TLS against the clear repository and connected to Portnox 802. So see all of that information there got put into the specific group here. So again, distributed the certificate, was able to associate to that username. Of course, we can also do this against like Azure Active Directory if that is set up and authenticated against Azure AD instead of the clear repository. If you wanted to take a look more of the documentation under the help section inside the tenant, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see here that there is a certificate management and there is one for JAMF, one for Google Workspace, and one for Microsoft Intune. So this is that JAMF one, and again, you can see here the instructions on how to do that.